Hello there beauty fans. Today I'm going to talk to you about eyebrows. The frames of the face, the thing I normally would have on even if I was barely leaving the house or had the webcam on very little in my working day, the eyebrows would normally be here. I'd like to talk to you specifically about Benefit brow products, and there's a good reason for that. So these are the brow products from Benefit that I currently have in my possession. What has happened, I hear you ask? Have I had some sort of mad spending spree? Sort of. All can be explained. Introducing the Magnificent Brow Show, which is 5 full-size superstar brow products all together at a magically low price. Gift set bought for myself in the sale. So, in the Magnificent Brow Show gift set, we had a Goofproof brow pencil here. We have the Precisely My Brow pencil. We have Cabral, they do like a good pun. We have Gimme Brow. And finally, we have the 24-hour brow setter. In addition to these 5, I want to add 2 more that I use regularly. The Browsings Palette has been an old favourite for many, many years. And more recently, I've been using the Brow Styler. What is it I'm going to do with all these products? Great question. There are 7 products, and I thought over the next 7 days I would use 1 product in isolation each morning and show you the effect on the eyebrow. And at the end of the 7 days I will decide which I prefer, I will rank them perhaps, make some recommendations, and then I guess I'll have a lot of brow product left to use over the coming years, though most of these say to use within 6 months. So yeah, that's the plan. And there's no time like the present, so let's take a product and get going. So, day 1. Today I'm going to revert to my old favourite, friend of the last decade or so, the Browsings Palette. You get a little thing with wax and powder. I'm sorry, it's a bit gross. It's very old. You also get a set of tweezers, and these are really great tweezers. I've always been impressed by these. So I've been recommended to apply this in different ways. You'll see that I've busted through all that wax, long since gone. Smells a bit like stage makeup at this point, wax that's kind of gone off. Comes with a little mirror for if you don't have a phone camera to look into. So let's just pop this on. I've had Brow Bar Benefit experts tell me to combine the wax and the powder whilst applying them, but I tend to wax and then powder. So let's use the mirror and the compact for authenticity. Now this sort of reminds me of, I don't know, sort of things I used to read in horrible histories about how women in ancient Egypt would use like wax and ashes and things to make darken their brows. The good thing about Browsings is obviously that the wax holds the hairs in place and helps you create a brow shape if you are struggling with wayward hairs, as I often do. The coloured wax is kind of good if you want to make your brows darker, but I think this colour is actually too dark for my skin tone and complexion. Indeed, last time I was at Duty Free in Stansted, which feels like a lifetime ago, the guy on the benefit counter said whoever gave you that shade should be fired, or words to that effect, which was a bit stark, but did encourage me to go down to a more natural shade. So this is a little darker than perhaps I'd normally go for, you know, plausible enough at distance. So that's just the wax. There's loads of the powder left, which just shows you how little powder of this I would normally apply. There are some gaps because, you know, eyebrows don't grow in a sensible manner, do they, or anything like consistently. Wow, what's really striking me at the moment is the smell. It's definitely going in the bin fairly soon. I think I've mainly kept it for the tweezers. I shouldn't always rescue those, of course. You do get a nice convincing line here on that arch, because it's kind of held with the wax, and the powder emphasises that angle. Unusually, the left side of my face looks better at the moment. I like the fact that the little brush folds into itself and pops in there, and you have a nice little plastic divider It's a nice set and it fits nicely in a makeup bag. But that look is quite severe. It's quite structured for me. Sorry. So there's a reason I stopped using it, I think. I think it was a bit much for me. But if you're looking for a dramatic, heavier brow look, then I think the Browsings palette is an obvious choice. But we'll see what comes up in the rest of the week. Okay, it's day 2 and it's a lovely sunny Monday, and I have chosen for today's brow experience Cabral because I couldn't resist the pun, and I also like the way that it looks a bit like a chess piece. The instructions on the box says Cabral fill in brows with rich cream gel to sculpt and define layer for more drama. So let's see. Now I was a bit confused by this product initially. Obviously the base does unscrew to leave you a little pot of some sort of product, gel, but I couldn't work out what to do with the top half until I gave it a really aggressive pull and this little brush came out. So hurrah, because I was worried I was going to have to smear it on my fingers. Would not have been ideal. So this doesn't seem wildly dissimilar to the Browsings wax, but let's give it a go. It's a much smaller brush. Very small brush, in fact. I guess you could be very precise with this. It's quite difficult doing this in the phone camera, so I'm just going to move to the mirror quickly to try and put some on the arches. Again, this is quite dark for what is meant to be number 2 shade blonde. It's difficult to tell with the differing contrast in this extremely sunny room this morning. You definitely can layer this stuff, which is good. I feel like I'm using quite a lot. That's a bit cack-handed there, never mind. It's definitely identifying that my brows need a bit of a tweezer tidy. Okay, quick job, there we go. It's a similar look to the Browsings palette yesterday. I don't dislike it. It was easy to do, and the little brush is quite a nice tool, and because it's an interesting shape, I guess you'd find it quite easily in your makeup bag, so that's a bonus. Fabulous, great, moving on. Morning, day 3. Bit of a light makeup day today, I think, bit of a slow start. So today I'm going to try using the 24-hour brow setter. Not a big dog. What's the tips? Coat brow hairs from root to tip to tame, sculpt and set brows for 24 hours. Asterisk. Presumably your results may vary. So what have we got? Is it like a mascara stick? It is like a mascara stick. Oh, it's clear. So there's not a colour to this. Let's see what happens. I'll do it here for the minute. I mean, that it's just like gunk in your eyebrows. That looks as bad as it did before I started. No offence, brow setter. I guess if you were going for a really natural look, this would be about right. Trying to sculpt them and make them look a bit less mad. I think I need to work on that for a bit. I might use a brow pencil to fill them in a bit because they're still quite patchy. Not convinced about this one. Let's see what the future days bring. Good morning, it's day 4 today and I'm in the mood for a bit more precision makeup. As you can see, I've put my flicks on. So I'm going to try precisely my brow pencil today. Now on the end of this pencil there is a spoolie, so you can spoolie your wild brows and see what's going on with them. I'm not particularly pleased with what's going on with my brows, but that's the way they are. Right, so this is a very fine, I hope you can see this, very fine brow pencil. So I'll try doing it in the camera, but I might have to do it in the mirror. Just give me 1 second. Quite a sharp effect drawing it on like this. That said, if you could ignore the fact that some of my brows are really wayward, it is drawing a plausible colour on my face with very good levels of control. So that's the look we now have. And tidy at the bottom. It's tough, isn't it? You never want to pluck too much because you leave yourself with a bald patch, but equally difficult balance when it starts growing like that. Let's try the other brow. And usually left brow is growing in a slightly more manageable way at the moment. I can't be the only person whose main brow tool is a pair of nail scissors because the brow hair gets so long and becomes unmanageable. Let's try and work out where that arch would be. Drawing the arch always just seems to be kind of trying to take the average of the brow. You don't want a super thin line, but equally not going for the tattooed brow look either. That's not bad. I'm going to go away and do some tidying up with the tweezers, I think. Yeah, that's alright, isn't it? I feel it could do with something to hold the brow hairs in place now, ironically enough, having not got on brilliantly with that 24-hour, what was it called? 24-hour brow setter, that's the one, the dog breed, yesterday. So maybe we need to combine, just thinking about that. But yeah, this is a great tool for real precision brow work, but it does take a little bit longer because it's more fiddly. So that's day 4. Morning, day 5. Bit of a rush today. I'm reverting to my old faithful, the brow styler. And I like this because there's an end bit that's almost run out, as you can see, which is a sort of waxy pen. It's quite wide, but because it's tapered, you can get some quite good lines out of it. And it means I can make this arch, which is always a bit weak, look a little bit more defined, which is a good thing. And it doesn't take very long because you can use it on its side, on the thicker part of the brow, and then use the angle, use the tapered edge while you're trying to draw the arch in. This is very much harder on a phone camera, by the way, than in a mirror. That might have to do. We are rushing, as I say. It's also got, I'll retract that before I put the lid back on, it's also got a powdery bottom part, which just, if you do use it to thicken your brows, I find, maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I find it just drops all over your face and makes you look like you've been rolling in sort of loose powder. So I don't really use that part of it, which is a shame when you get a product that only half of it is any good to you. But the tapered edge is a really handy part of the tool, so I have long liked this one. And as you can see, the effect is quick and defined. Well, good morning, and it's day 6, and today, a bit of a light makeup day, it's Friday after all, we're going to try the Goofproof brow pencil. And 2 ends. This end is a spoolie. They like their hardware at Benefit, which is good. So I guess I can do this to my brows and really see how much of a wild mess they are. Now the Goofproof pen itself, I know the focus is terrible on these things, but that end cross section is a kind of a rhombus, and the advice on the pack says fill in brows with wide tip and define with pointed end. Just there. So let's see how that works then. So if I use the whole thing flat on the wide part of my brow, and fill in tip with pointed end, so I guess you just sort of angle it after the arch. I'm going to go to the mirror, only because it's a bit quicker when I'm closer up to things, and I've got focus. Oh, those brows are long. The spoolie action really does make you appreciate how wild things are getting. I don't know how to control that level of brow non-conformity. Is it a matter of, is it scissors? Is it aggressive gelling it? Is it embracing that I'm just gonna have to have massive brows despite being quite fair? It's quite a heavy look, and it's kind of the best of both worlds, the worst of both worlds, in that you've got the big kind of wide colouring in element, and but there is some precision in that tip, but it's not as precise as a brow pencil, I wouldn't have said, and that's because you're not I suppose you are putting it onto the skin, but it's kind of getting mashed up in the hair as well because of the nature of the product, which is sort of a waxy, very waxy. Anyway, that's today's brow look. One more to go. See you soon. And it's day 7 of an extremely long week, and the only brow product I've yet to try is Benefit's Gimme Brow. Little dinky chest piece, this one. Now, let's open it up, see what we've got. Oh, it's a spoolie, and look at the size, it's so dinky. So I guess you just sweep this through your brows. It really, you can see how it's trying to transform the colour of my brow hairs from a kind of grey to a blondie brown. So it's bringing definition, which is nice. Gel volumizing fibre gel. Oh, so is it like the stuff that you can spray onto bald patches and gappy roots? Maybe. Does it fix the brows well? I guess it probably does a little. I think that's fairly decent for today's coverage, which is going for a walk coverage. Doesn't need to be particularly defined, not going to get close to anybody. Yeah, that is a satisfactory brow look for a lighter brow day. Right, that's all 7. I will post up a retrospective shortly, reviewing all the different products, maybe grouping them, and telling you which is my favourite. Well, hello, I'm back. It's review time. It's the weekend. I can look quite put together as long as I have until lunchtime to do it. Right, so it's been an eventful 7 days with these different products. I think I'd like to review them by grouping them. So first of all, grouping the 2 products that have a kind of wax element that you mash into your eyebrows with a brush, which would be Browsings and the Cabral. They're both good if you want a really dramatic, strong brow look, and they're both fairly precise. I think on balance, I prefer the Cabral because you have the wax. The wax is a stronger tint than the Browsings, and you don't have to mess about with a separate powder. It's quite good for filling in any gaps, and the wax goes some way to holding your brow hair in place. Moving on then to the 2 pencils that have a waxy kind of soft crayon element. There's my almost expired Brow Styler and Goofproof, which has the spoolie, and the Brow Styler one, the bigger one, has this powder in the bottom. And I think on that basis, I'd probably rate the Goofproof over the Brow Styler, because I don't use the loose powder, and I find as soon as I start dabbing it on, it starts falling on my cheekbones and nose, and it's a real pain to clean off again. So probably the Goofproof wins. Also having the little spoolie is quite a good starting point, so you can just see what might need to be done with the tweezers before you get started. They're pretty good for precision, but the sort of soft crayon doesn't really hold the hairs in place. So that's just one thing I'd say. As a potential downside, if you have very long brow hair or it tends to get a bit wayward, this probably wouldn't be adequate on its own. I think if you want a super precise look, it should come as no surprise that the Precisely My Brow pencil is the best product for that purpose. It's a really nice fine tip, and this is what I've used this morning. You get a really clean look. You can fill in all the gaps directly on the skin without having to worry about is there hair there to attach the product to or not. Again, the spoolie gives you a good starting point so you can see what you're working with. The challenge, the shortcoming from the Precisely My Brow pencil is that it doesn't have any means of holding the hair in place at all. So there's that the product just seems to apply to the skin, doesn't have any kind of a way of affixing the hairs. So you would really need to use it in conjunction with either the 24-hour brow setter, to enunciate correctly, as I have done this morning, or the Gimme Brow. Now, again, they're both a little different. The 24-hour brow setter is clear. There's no tint there at all, so it doesn't add a heaviness, which I quite like, because I think my days of going super black brows are done. The Gimme Brow is good if you have patchy brows, because it has that kind of fibre that helps build up the appearance of a brow. So if your brow hair is particularly fine, or you have gappy patches where it just doesn't seem to grow, this could be a good choice. Do I have a winner? It's really difficult because they all serve very different purposes and meet different needs. I love the Precisely My Brow Pencil. I think it's a really neat tool. The problem with it is it isn't perfect in isolation. It needs a product to go with it, which means buying 2 products. It's quite small to fit in your makeup bag though, so is that a problem for space? Financially, it's a problem. The other challenge with it is it runs out on you and you're like, hang on, I thought I had loads left. You can keep pushing it out, but it just feels like a risk. God, if I break that, that's expensive. So suddenly, a bit like this tool that I've been recently using, the brow styler, it suddenly goes click, click, that's it, no more, and you're like, oh no, I'm out of brow product, this is not a good thing. I have to get one quickly. I don't want to have to Amazon Prime that and support Amazon. So, my conclusion seems a little vague, for which I apologise, but I hope by reviewing each of these products in turn, you've had a chance to see the different effect of them and get a sense of which one might best meet your particular personal brow needs. We all have our brow preferences and, you know, different brow look for different brow occasions, your day-to-day, your low makeup day, your very precise, flawless, put-together look. So I think it really just depends on what your needs are and use your common sense. Anyway, I hope you found the review of these brow products at least a little bit helpful, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.